Progressive era. It's the time where people are wearing signs on them and cool hats. It's actually true, as this picture very much proves to you. Of course, progressive era has many other things besides hats and signs. But we're gonna look at that today. Alright, so what's going on with the progressive era? Progressive era comes in response to a lot of problems that the United States are having. As we've looked at, there's whole issues of children working. There's issues of people not getting paid much in factories. People are making a ton of money. You have cities that are crowded. You have problems in immigration. You have a lot of issues with politicians. Politicians, in many cases, are corrupt, or they're not really looking out for the people that they represent. So progressive era comes out of this very tough time for many Americans. And there are two main progressive ideas. The first one is that American society was capable of improvement, growth, and advancement. So it's capable of improvement, growth, and advancement. The society is not condemned to be sitting around as it is. Even though many people are making money, a lot of people aren't. So it's this belief that the country is going to improve. And that progress, the second idea, the progress could only occur with human intervention. It wasn't going to happen on its own. So people needed to act. And this is a time for action, as we're going to see. So who's starting this? We read that article and discussed Boss Tweed. So Boss Tweed was the head of Tammany Hall in New York. He is embezzling money from New York City. And as we read in that article that we did our summary on, Boss Tweed is taken down by the New York Times. Journalists use their power, use the ability to spread information, disseminate information to the public about corrupt people. So these people are called muckrakers. So muckrakers are journalists who expose wrongdoings of businesses, corporations, and individuals. So they're attacking those people that really are not benefiting the country. These people that are in businesses that are performing illegal activities that no one knows about. So journalists, newspapers, they play a huge role in exposing all of this. A man named Upton Sinclair. Upton Sinclair writes a book called The Jungle. Shout out to Mr. Garcia for interrupting me. He writes a book called The Jungle. Now, The Jungle exposes what essentially their... It's fine, I like being interrupted. The Jungle exposes slaughterhouses, the meat packing industry, namely in Chicago. And this is a slaughterhouse, as you can see in the image. There's a bunch of, looks like, I guess it's cattle. That might be, I'm going with cattle. It's exposed as extremely dirty. You have rats being ground up in the meat. We're going to read it later, so I won't spoil all the fun. But he exposes what's really a public health hazard. There are safety problems that you have at this time. So muckrakers are exposing things that are hurting the average American. With those people that are exposing, you also have political reforms as well. So cities like New York and every other city in the country, they're investigating their budgets and structures. So they're making sure that money that's being spent, that's all taxpayer money, is being spent in the right ways. And that the people that are in charge of the city, that are running the cities, are using their power in the way that they should. That they're not giving jobs to their friends just for fun. And you start having also various voting reforms. There's the direct primary, and that's where voters select candidates for election. So you are directly electing who you want to represent you. You're not going to be voting just for a party who in turn picks whoever they want. And there's also the referendum, where a law passed by politicians must be submitted to voters for approval. So just because the politicians vote on it, this allows citizens to double check, to check the power of politicians. It's still in effect today. If there's a law that's passed, referendum can occur, and in that case, what's known, really the law can be taken offline. And if politicians are so corrupt or going against the wishes of the voters, their constituents, people that voted for them, if politicians are so doing poorly, what's called a recall can happen. So a recall vote is really just removing an elected official from office. They don't happen often, but recall votes do occur, and if it happens, the person is removed from office, and then a new candidate is put in. We also have what's known as the Socialist Party. So we have all these politicians. Socialist Party also arises. And Eugene Debs, he is actually arrested at the Pullman strike. He's a leader of a union, and while he's in jail, he reads a lot of Karl Marx. We're going to start talking soon about different political ideologies. A lot of people associate Marx with communism, but he's influenced to start the Socialist Party, and really the goal is to help unemployed people. They wanted government reform. They see all these corrupt politicians, and they wanted suffrage. Suffrage is the ability to vote, and they wanted it for everyone, not children, but everyone that is an adult. They wanted universal suffrage. And they were dismayed that businesses were not owned by the workers. They were owned by billionaires. So Eugene Debs, he went all around. He was running for office, runs for president, and gets 1 million votes in 1912. And a lot of people, they like what he's saying. He's trying to help the regular workers, regular people, and to get government to intervene and help people out. Some people that very much were vocal, like Eugene Debs, and wanted to be heard, they were women. Women at this time did not have the right to vote nationally. Some states had granted women the right to vote, but the suffrage movement, especially for this women's suffrage, it's fighting for the rights for women to vote. As you can see in the bottom left, not a lot, but many people didn't want women to vote. They thought men should be the ones that should be voting, whereas women are saying these laws are affecting us too. It's ridiculous that we can't. There's a humorous image on the right, the new woman wash day, and you have the man doing the wash and the woman sitting and reading a magazine. So women, they were extremely vocal. Here's an image of them lighting a fire outside of the White House. And they have protests, they have marches, and just want to be heard and have their rights given to them. Finally, we have temperance. There's a belief at this time that, and for much of history, that alcohol results in a lot of problems in society. On the left, you see drinking leads to neglect of duty, moral degradation, and crime. And this man is sitting in a jail cell looking at all murder and drunkenness and all these things. So alcohol, with all these problems in the cities and jobs and workplaces, alcohol often gets the blame. And in many cases, alcohol does create many problems. So there's a push, mostly led by women, to ban the sale of alcohol. So the temperance movement gets a lot of momentum at this time. Great tactic for the women. If you look on the right, lips that touch liquor shall not touch ours. You can kind of guess where their threats are lying.